You know, the thing with visual artists is that they remind me a lot of dope guitar players. An exceptional guitarist has the rhythm of a drummer, the ambidexterity of a piano player, and the understanding of melody of a singer. Our guest is a visual artist who traveled the world to come back to Africa and become so much more. In this episode of Key Africans Unlocked, Chilu and I chat to one of Zambia's more prolific businessmen, CEO of INZI, Vatice Mushauko.
It is Key Africans Unlocked. Happy Thursday to everyone watching.
For the third time.
Yeah, man. Zubs, how's your week been?
Good. It's been good. I can't lie. It's been a good week.
Yeah. Zubs' week being good is determined on his football team's results.
Wow.
So that's kind of...
You've reduced me. This guy has reduced me to 90 minutes plus extra time
on a weekend.
My existence predicated.
It has a bearing. Okay, let's say 40%. All right.
Okay.
True or not?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
My mood only.
Well, that's a good segue. We have Vatice as our guest. We're gonna find out a lot more about this dynamic African strong man. And while we're at it, football team. Is football your thing? And I don't imagine it is.
It is. I'm more of a Chelsea guy, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
There's so many Chelsea guys on the continent. I can't understand.
No, but is it like the players? Is it like what's?
No. For me, because I lived in London as well, so
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. But Arsenal's from London too. Why did you?
My cousin actually used to actually play in Chelsea somehow.
Really?
Yeah. Although it was a second division, so I always used to go down there.
That's
brilliant.
That'll do it.
That'll solidify everything.
Yeah, when family goes in like that.
Yeah, then you just go with
it's
it.
done. Yeah, game over. Then game over.
Yeah. All right, nice one. Yeah. So let's start there actually. So, you know, I first heard about you around 2009 or so. And you had directed a video by Zambia's biggest artist at the time, probably still is, JK.
Yeah.
With Salma, who's now famous. I think you did the video for Kapilipili.
Yeah.
And somebody was telling me the guy who did this video is dope, especially with lighting. So that's how I knew. I didn't know who you were and things of that sort. But tell us a bit about your life before that, like your foundational years. Who is Vatice?
Yeah, well, how do I start this?
And it's a unique name, so I also want to find out.
Yeah, that I'll throw it on to my dad then. But basically, I feel like I was somehow born an artist, Things that I'm doing today are nothing new, at least in my head. It's something that it's things that even when I was a kid I aspired to be. It's like when you watch a TV show or watch a movie, it just gives you these kicks, and you aspire to do something that you see some mistakes, what you could do. But you still don't have the skill in your hands. You know what I mean? So every now and again, when I got hold of be it either equipment or be in a certain situation, it's something that really, really excited me and really jump-started me. And also in school, I was more interested in the arts and anything to do with creativity. What I always felt is I found really academics really boring. I really wanted to just get rid of it as soon as possible and just get onto something that's very practical. So after school, I went to study in the UK. There as well, I think it was a really good step to be there because it actually exposed me to the first world and magnitude of how possibilities per se. Thereafter, I came back to Africa, and as soon as I came back, of course, my family was pushing me to excel in a certain kind of direction in terms of academics. My dad is an accountant, so this is what you need to do. But I really knew what I really followed my gut and felt that I have to follow what my heart wants. So I decided to open arguably Zambia's first photography agency per se. Back in the days when actually people thought you robbed them when you give them a black and white picture.
Yeah.
You know, so and I really enjoyed myself. It was a hard start, you know. Actually bought a small little camera, you know, and I remember back in the days they used to call me a cameraman, you know.
Yeah.
And nobody really understood what photographer meant. And my only competitor was a guy called Gareth Bentley.
Oh yeah, I was at school with guys.
Yeah. Who at that time was really good, and he was really well placed, you know. So what I decided to do is I think mixed my creativity and business push, linked them together, and I think maybe that's where he made kind of a mistake, you know. So for me, actually, I kind of brought professional photography to the average Joe and Jane, rather than making it a service that's actually for a certain niche. And people just caught on. So while I was taking pictures, I think I got really good at it. Then I started getting bored of just still image. So I started thinking, how would I make that still image move, you know? Then I got into motion picture, you know. So tried to push. Then I finally got to do, I think, a TV advert for a client for free.
Oh.
And
you just volunteered service.
Yeah, you know. And then they loved it, and it was a really nice TV advert. So the client hooked me into their business, and it helped me capitalize myself. So I would say I started with zero budget with my kind of business, just a laptop and a small camera. And capitalized myself. I invested in some equipment, started growing, and then after that, started doing a bit of some music videos. I think I have a friend called Kambila, so we almost started at the same time, and worked together on certain projects. And and here we are, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I saw a quote online saying, well, you were saying, so I'm going to quote you, about how the education system in Africa, school system, does not teach entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It teaches trade.
Yeah.
And when you tell that story, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody who was, like most of us, pushed into trying to become either a doctor, a lawyer, or, you know what I mean?
Pilots.
But feeling a passion for a more artistic side of things.
Yeah.
And then eventually following that, learning that, and then understanding how to make that into not just, you know, your lifestyle or your way of living, but into a job, into a living, and into, you know, like to actually make it viable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's good to be part of a generation of African men that broke the mold of that.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it sets up the next generation
Exactly.
to know that option exists as a viable one where you can actually make money and a living out of
Yeah.
that.
No, true.
True.
Do you feel like your life has been an example for young cats in that sense?
Yeah, I think it has, because most people come to me and ask me a bit of some advice, and ask me to give them a little bit of some coaching here and there. So I can only assume, I think it makes a change. And also, I feel like in my country anyway, for all I know, and some parts of Africa, to a certain extent, feel a little bit of celebrated. In the sense of I'm asked to do like what I'm doing right now, you know, talk to some people. So I can only assume, I think I might be doing something right.
Yeah, no, you definitely are. You definitely are. And I never had, when I was growing up, I never had those kind of examples from Africa, to be honest with you. For me, those examples only existed in the US. They existed on TV, you know what I mean? And those for me were my role models. You know, as a guy who was heavily steeped in the arts. I only had like the US as a bar, if you understand what I'm saying. So to have fellow African men and women,
like leading the charge,
who are right in front of you, who you can see, who you can touch, who you can meet, who are living that life, that's the ultimate inspiration, I think.
The other thing, which because still on the African vibe. A lot of the work, when we look at the work that you've done, your repertoire, it has a very African leaning. In fact, let's maybe start with the name Inzi, because your production company.
Wait, we didn't touch on Vatice. You just said your dad gave you that name.
Yeah, so tell us Vatice and then tell us about Inzi.
since we're doing names, right? I mean, let's go in on names.
Let's decode these names.
Yeah, so okay, with the companies, it's a funny story. So anyway, with my dad,
You see, he's like ducking the Vatice.
He doesn't want to talk about Vatice, bro. You know, someone came and sat in that chair that you're sitting in and said, yo, parents should give children the right to name themselves, man. And judging by the way you respond to your name.
Anyway, my dad lived in Europe, and I think he got the Vatice from Italy. And also I'm from the eastern part of Zambia, which is actually famous for funny names, you know.
Yeah, like when Obama becomes president, you've got Obama Tembo, Obama Banda.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then Inzi is quite funny, you know. I was thinking of I had a pen and I was drawing a logo and all that, you know. Mm-hmm. I believe in if you want to start something, you just start it. You know, it starts in the mind. Mm-hmm. I do not believe in like you mentioned. I think the school system, to a certain extent, curbs us and just constrains us and limits us to a certain extent. You know, you don't think beyond.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, I think a business always starts with an idea and a business card. You get what I mean? And for me, that's my capital. How I'll grow happens organically. To a certain extent, you grow. I do not believe in the whole idea of you need to look for capital, then you have to do this, then you have to look for this kind of expertise and whatever and that. So the fact that I feel like I'm not limited, then everything is a possibility. If you look at Elon Musk right now, he's got SpaceX, you know, but he has zero knowledge in astronomy and stuff like that, and he's selling his products and services to NASA now.
Yeah,
you know, which means he was not limited per se. You know, so having said that, with Inzi, it's funny. You know, I was scribbling some names for a company, thing of what to call it, and then a fly just sat on the paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
because Inzi means fly.
No,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, no, I think that sounds cool. Nobody really knows. Inzi.
I was told the difference. Somebody was saying no, the translation is because he does fly products. You know.
Yeah.
So was that the play on words or
no?
Or
I just and then I just threw it out, and
fly.
everybody. You know, so some people say Inzi, it's probably French or whatever. So yeah, whatever you want to take it.
Inzi.
Yeah, Inzi.
I love that. When you let inspiration just come at you and hit you
well,
from
thank
nowhere.
goodness it wasn't a roach on your paper.
If a roach had crawled on that paper, it might have been a problem.
Roach Studios.
But there's actually a company called Roach Inc. You know that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now.
There's a company called Roach Inc.
Yeah,
and it's dope.
maybe the story started the same
It's dope
way.
as well. Yo, Inzi's dope. Inzi's dope. And now that you talk about Musk, do you feel like we have enough representation globally, like as a continent, on that level? You know, on that Musk level, you know, because I feel like the continent has a lot of Elon Musks everywhere, you know. So you're definitely on your way to becoming that guy, you know. And I feel like there's so many in various different aspects of whether it's tech or sport or entertainment. You know, we have people at the highest level.
Yeah.
But are they anywhere near enough? Given how many people are on this continent?
Yeah, no, we're there. The only biggest problem that I realize is, as Africans, we A, do not celebrate them, B, we do not own them. For instance, if you look at Elon Musk right now, he's dubbed as an American born in South Africa.
People get shocked when they hear the South African story.
You get what I mean?
Yeah,
but I don't blame Americans for owning them. I blame us for actually letting him go. You know, so I think, especially in media and in the country as a whole, we need to actually look at these people, and see how we're gonna own them. For instance, I'm driving around Joburg, South Africa, and whatever. I do not see any poster of Elon Musk.
After he's just launched an incredible milestone for humanity.
Exactly. But I feel as South Africans, he's the beginning of aspiration for that average Joe and Jane who was born here. Because, I mean, he is South African.
Yeah.
And also, to a certain extent, I feel like he's a good brand for a country. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen anything, which is a big problem. And
you're right, the Americans do it well. I mean, like some of the artists that we know who might even be our age have roads named after them, you know. So you can be walking and you'll see, you know, a random R. Kelly Boulevard or whatever it is. And so you can aspire within your own space to somebody who's done well, where we don't have that much. We have memorials that kind of point to guys who were a generation before us for whatever, you know. So but you have a passion for the continent, and so maybe that's something that, you know, we should get more info about. Why is it that a lot of the things that you do are very Afro-centered?
What I feel is, I think to make it in life per se, or to be at the top, I think you need to understand your origins and your roots. You know, I believe that's the only way you can make it, because before you get out there, you actually need to understand yourself. Like I said, for me, everything that I'm doing is not a fluke. Everything I'm doing is not by chance, but it's just written because I understood it from the time I was a kid. This is what I want to do. This is what I like. I remember watching Top Billing at some point. I was really young, and I really loved this whole construction and real estate stuff. And I knew at some point I will do it, you know, and it's something that I'm doing right now as well. So having said that, I feel like I think being African is the most fortunate thing you can do. You can be, rather, you know, because I think we're one of the few continents with soul and tons and tons of content, you know, tangible and intangible content, you know, which is weapons that we have to be whatever we would like to be, you know. And secondly, also, I find it as a beautiful continent that actually helps you be whatever you want to be. Yeah, you know what I mean. And thirdly, it's still untapped by us. You know, it's being tapped by people out there, but ourselves. So what better place to be? Yeah. And also, I always feel like it's better to brand yourself as an African or have a bit of an African touch out there. That's the only way you can be something different out there than brand yourself something that is not part of you and you do not understand.
That's a good point. And I think that it speaks back to what we're saying about, you know, the people who are celebrated versus the people who not so much are, especially at that highest level. Because I find, like, for example, Lupita, for example, Lupita will get celebrated on the continent almost like it's nothing, you know, whereas someone like Robin Creel, not so much. You know what I mean? Same with, for example, an artist like Bongo Muffin or P Square, you know, will get celebrated continentally, whereas artists like the Antwoord, not so much, you know. So I think the Antwoord will play down the Africa thing, and these other guys will play them up. And it's no coincidence that there's a color thing there as well. You know, we're talking about black versus white here, you know. And yet for me, at that highest level, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are from a continent that, as you say, Vatice, has soul, has a certain type of energy and vibe, and all those things are what unite us and what make us one. That's why you will go to Europe, for example, and you will resonate differently with a white African than you would a black European. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Does that make any kind of sense to you? Is that resonating? So for me, it's a very interesting conversation that we'll probably have to pick up another day. But right now, I just want to ask you, unless you want to talk about that, but I want to ask you, when you were out in the UK and you felt, or in Europe or anywhere else outside of the continent, and you felt the energies of the space versus the energies of Africa, what is it about that space that made you realize your identity as an African?
It will first start on color. You know what I mean? I always believe to a certain extent, the moment when you're in a certain space where there's a lot of maybe white people, Chinese or whatever, it first starts by looking at yourself and you realize you're African. So it pulls your identity, rather than if you're here and you're seeing people of your kind. Secondly, also, there's language, and there's also just basically just the topology and how everything looks and feels. But the key thing is, I believe contrast is the best way to actually look within yourself and understand where you're at. And to be honest, I really don't like Europe much, you know.
Okay, very few Africans like Europe. Let's be honest. Very few Africans come back from Europe and say, "That place is amazing. I want to go right back." You know, they're always like, "Oh, I can't wait to go back to the sun."
You know. So for me, I feel like I think that experience made me appreciate my continent more, and made me realize the amount of opportunity and endless opportunity that's here. You know, so hence the reason why.
Yeah,
you know.
Nice.
There's a photo. It's interesting because when you have guys who are so prolific behind the camera, and then you see like a dope photo of them, then you think, who took that photo? But there's a photo of you, you see, which as you explaining this just now responding to what Zub said, I can see now. You know the photo I'm talking about with you in a very regal position. You've got like an headgear African, what do you call a wraparound type story, like royalty type story. Now, like you've got a certain confidence, and you over the years you just kind of like breaking new ground as you go. And I look at that photo and I'm thinking, there's has to be something behind that whole self-assertion that you have. Where does that come from?
Like I said, it comes from within. I believe we're all masters of our own destiny. What we're doing now. So for me, what I feel is, you need to first believe in yourself, understand that you're king within. And that's the only way you can convince the world. It's very hard sometimes. They will not believe you 100 times. And maybe on the 101st point, then they'll pick it up. You know what I mean? I believe it's a same common thing with everybody else who's doing well, who's up there right now. So what I feel for me is, I think you need to have your self-belief and realize that within yourself you're a master of your own destiny and you're a king, and then it takes you there. And also speaking about a photo like that, I think that
who took that? Probably you put it on self-timer. Rush back to the ship.
Exactly. No one can take a better picture of me than me.
We'll call it a selfie, but we'll put the camera on a stand.
Professional selfie.
Exactly. I want to make myself selfie me.
Incredible. So I directed it though.
That's actually, when I saw the one video, the one we were talking about earlier.
With Mubayachi.
You directed it, you were in it as well, and you obviously behind the camera. That's a hands-on thing. I guess it's testament to your skill, a wide array of skill that you have. Do you trust other people with your creative stuff?
To a certain extent,
Who do you trust?
It's very hard when you're that kind of a creative, because it's all stitched up in your head. And the only thing you need to do is just execute it, But what's difficult on that bit is people understanding your vision. You know what I mean? What I feel is, especially here, we're still a growing continent, especially in media, anyway. And it's very hard to find that expertise that just you talk to them and they really understand. So it forces you to pick up the camera and press the red button.
I found that when I create, when I collaborate, I like to come with my vision, but I have to almost allow myself to let it go once you bring other people in the space. Like literally I have to allow myself, give myself permission.
But it's not the easiest of things.
It's very hard. It's like Vatice says, you have a vision in your head and you have something that you want to achieve with it so desperately. And I don't think I've ever done that. All the stuff I've created, I've never actually fully realized what is in my head, even though sometimes it has...
I agree, same here.
It has come, to a different direction is the point.
But there are some people who will catch it as close as possible. There are some people who will catch maybe 80% of your vision. Right. And so you'll come close with some, in your case, songs. And then there's some people who, like you say, you let it go and it'll be like maybe 40% of what you initially envisioned. That's what I
might turn out to be better than you had imagined. Do you know what I mean? Which is a different thing. When you collaborate, sometimes you want something to happen creatively, and then you collaborate with somebody, and then what you wanted to happen is not going to happen. You let that go, and then what you expect to happen is then superseded and surpassed.
I can kind of relate. What's happened weirdly in my situation, I mind hijacking your interview. No, it's because when I kind of sometimes try and get somebody who's producing the song to understand my vision, they might not get it right, and I'll let it go and say, okay, this is what it is. But the response from the people who listen to it when they're wowed with it, that's when you kind of realize, what you said there, that this guy took it further than
I imagined.
I imagined. Yeah, so it is. It's But as artists, it's touch and go.
Yeah, for me, I see it and it comes out exactly how I feel it.
What? Get in there,
drop the mic. Interview done.
I can't relate to you guys talking about I can't get to my
70% story. That is not my portion.
Speak on it, bro.
Yeah.
You get to that point where you realize it.
What I feel is and it can also derail you somehow. In the sense of progress. Hence the reason why actually I've got a little bit of what you're saying. I've learned to let go, especially when it's really a business thing, because that way I know it slows me down. So I've over the past few years, I've adopted the whole idea of good is good enough. Do you get what I mean? When the client sometimes says, no, I love it, then I let it go. For me, it's at 40%, but it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the only way you move,
I hear you.
But otherwise, for certain personal things, it has to be exactly the way it is in their head.
I can relate to that way of thinking, actually, because if it's yours, it's that much more precious.
Yeah.
And you can't settle for less than what you want.
That's your legacy.
Absolutely want.
That's your fingerprint into the future.
Speaking of collaborations, ultimate collaborations, what role does your lady play in your life?
My wife is, I feel lucky actually that I've met her, or maybe the word is blessed, because I think we're similar to a certain extent, but from a profession point of view, I think we've got different strengths, which I feel she brings in now. She brings in 50% of what I didn't have, and actually it's made me kind of a monster or transformer,
Yeah.
Optimus
Prime.
Prime.
Exactly.
Optimus Vatice.
Yeah. So she comes from I'd say a construction background somehow, and for me, I'm from a design background and a business background, so putting those together actually really, really helped. And also, she's got a certain kind of work ethics that I don't have. I believe in I think the biggest strength is knowing your weakness. So I don't focus on my strengths because I know I'm okay in that area. I always focus on my weaknesses, and I see how I feel those places up. So I think she comes with a pool of knowledge and drive that actually really complements me well, and I've seen my growth is really, really quicker than it was before.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
As somebody who's married to someone who's not from the same country as I am, I find that the cultural differences between us they pale in comparison to what we have in common. There are so many things that we have that unite us that you will even forget that you're from two different countries. Do you know what I mean? How have you found that in your relationship?
For me,
the fact that you're from two different countries.
For me, I wouldn't say we're from two different countries.
Just because you're practically South African. Let's just be honest. I mean, you're a Zambian, but you're practically South African.
I always believe, I don't believe in borders, and that started
borders
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always believe, you see, when I'm in the eastern province of Zambia, which is next to Malawi, what just differentiates it is it's a virtual line that
is here.
It's just here. There's a time I went for a traditional ceremony. I like traditional ceremonies, So I went for a traditional ceremony. It's what is called Kulamba. It's the Nyao dances.
Oh yeah.
So I saw people coming in from Malawi, from Zimbabwe. I'm not from Malawi, from Mozambique, and they were coming to a chiefdom called what's that place? Gaundi, So I asked someone so what happens with immigration? And people are just flowing in. Then they said no. I asked this old man. He says, "What immigration?" So I said, "But there's a border. What happens?" He says, "No, there's no borders here. The chief is here. Part of his kingdom stretches into what they call Malawi today and Mozambique. There were no borders. This thing was one thing. The chief is here. The people were there. Only colonial masters drew those lines.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, the border thing does not. Marrying my wife is the same as maybe marrying someone from northern province of Zambia. It's only that this place is just slightly further than it was.
Right.
Because when I'm in South Africa, it's not as foreign as the UK or anywhere else. That I could say, okay, maybe we can talk about that.
Right.
But the traditional stuff that I went through and the traditional stuff that I went through.
Because you had traditional marriage.
Yeah, it was exactly the same as how it is in Zambia.
That is very true.
The way she behaves with her father and mother-in-law and the way I behave, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So having said that, I always feel like sometimes borders really make us feel like we're from two different countries. And I feel like they're kind of tailored to restrict us from talking to each other. I mean, these guys have the European Union and what, and suddenly the whole continent is the same, and growth is actually in unison with everyone else. But for a Zambian to think I should go to Zimbabwe, which is nearby, that same virtual line is one that constrains them in the head. So for me, South Africa is just a province in my whole country per se.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
I saw some of the construction stuff you guys are busy with.
Yeah.
It's hectic stuff.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
It's beautiful stuff. You have a knack for that stuff, eh? Your business acumen is very high.
Thanks,
Is that something you cultivated over time, or you just kind of born that way?
I think I was born that way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that stuff was amazing to me. I was like, yo, this is beautiful.
But is there something within, as you were growing up, within your family that you can identify and say, this is kind of some of my dad in me, in my
definitely.
current hustle?
Besides the name.
Yeah.
Definitely. My mom is actually a shrewd business woman. So I think I get a little bit of that from her. But my dad is very artistic as well.
Nice.
He did a bit of some architecture, and he was a painter and stuff like that. So I grew up actually watching him do that and stuff like that. So maybe part of that comes from there as well.
Zim, which is pretty much the country that I did most of my formative years in. I was born in Zambia,
right?
But my formative years were in Zim. It's a new dawn out there,
right?
And there are so many of Zimbabweans that are out in the diaspora right now,
right?
All over Europe, Australia, the US. And I think the country needs a lot of them.
Yeah.
Or at least will need a lot of them going forward. And as somebody who's also done the trip back home and started building from the ground up back home, do you advise that to them? And if you do, would you advise going back home and building? What advice would you give to them? Let's say they're trapped in two minds and they're thinking, is it the right time? Is it not? Is it going to be better? Is it not? What would your advice be to them?
I think my advice, basically, before it goes to them, is it starts with leadership. Okay. I always believe everything is to do with leadership. From the smallest ant to the animal kingdom. You know what I mean? We need someone to follow, to give us a bit of some guideline. So I think, having said that, I think, of course, people. There's social risks that people always are averse to, especially when you have family and stuff like that. But such things, instead of advising them, I would advise the leaders to get their act together and just put up an environment that makes it much easier for these guys to come in and help them. I think it works much better from that angle.
No doubt.
Telling someone who's a doctor and is okay in Australia to come back, and it becomes difficult, especially when realistically, when there's that realm of family. But if the leader says, look, come back, we'll double your salary, we'll give you these amenities, come and help and build our country. And I think that's much easier, you know.
And I know you're hands-on with the leadership in Zambia in terms of that. So you're not just talking, you know, he's actually involved with leadership. What I like about what Vatice is saying as well is that you can't be unrealistic about it. These are people's lives we're talking about. You know, you can't just say, yeah, this is what you should do. I mean,
come home.
And another fact of what he's saying that I love is that, you know, when you start from the top, creating an environment that is suitable for things to happen, they will happen.
Yeah, they will happen.
It's an organic process, you know. Things don't just happen because you say they will or you say they must. You have to create the space for them to happen. And who creates the space at that level, at a macro level? It's leadership. It's government. You know.
I've got a question. I know we probably be wrapping in a moment, but do you get bored easily? The reason I'm asking this is because I see you INZI photography, video filming. Then you've got the next challenge is music. You did like a lot of work with musicians. Now you're doing. Do you get bored easily?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to really focus on one thing, but also, like I earlier stated, I'm really aware of my time here on Earth. If I had 500 years, I would spend 20 years on each of my passion and do it correctly. But, you know, as an artist, you need to fight. You need to understand where you're at, where your dreams and your goals to passion, and also your goals to financial freedom. You get what I mean? So most of the time, that's the biggest struggle. So having said that, I feel like my experience, I've done photography, which I'm still doing anyway, but I feel like commercial photography is kind of slightly dying because of technology. But of course I think I shared with you some time back, I'm doing another product, which is great. I feel it's great anyway. And it makes a lot of commercial sense. Then I did music. I think I did it, tried to do it, I think the most professional way anyone could ever do it. But then again, I hit a bit of a ceiling because I understood I got burned out a bit, if you understand what I mean. But having said that, is all these experiences that I've gone through, I think are very important in what I'm doing today. I would not say it was a failure. I would not say it was a whatever. I feel like it prepares me for something great. I'm not naive at entering into anything. Nobody will come to me and say, let's do some music. I already know what to do, what not to do, what will work, what will not work. I will not waste even, I'll just say, no, let's not talk about music. Let's have coffee. You get what I mean? Because I've been there. I ran, I think, arguably the most successful, biggest magazine in Zambia. It was Nkani Culture.
That
was a beautiful magazine, a little ahead of its time as well. But I know what it takes to do a magazine as well. You know, what time and whatever. So having said that, I feel like, I think the word is, yes, I get bored, but also I learn quickly. You get what I mean? Like, okay, the focus in this thing, where am I going? And do I really want to do this? So having said that, I feel like what I'm doing right now is actually a collection of my life's experience. You know what I mean? Like my real estate and construction company and developing company, a little bit of, when you look at the style and the approach, it's got a little bit of some music, it's got a little bit of some photography. It's got a little bit of some art. It's got some rhythm.
It's got soul.
You get what I mean?
But it's interesting what you're saying about learning from your journey. I'll be quick with this one. When I came to South Africa, I was a waiter. At a Spur restaurant. Many people don't know this. And that was because I was trying to get into spaces which were connected to what I was already doing before I came here, media, whatnot. Nothing was working. So I was a waiter and almost shunned that whole experience. But then when I stepped back, I thought, wait a minute. When I'm serving the clients or the customers, the people, when I'm putting the tray on the table or whatever, I'm learning about how they interact. I'm learning how South African middle-class people behave, their mindset. When I'm at the kitchen, I'm learning about the guys who don't earn that much. About they're teaching me about their lifestyle. So it's like a little exactly all those things. So it's like a college in one. Then I used to MC a lot of events back then. What happened is after my waiter experience, if I did an event, I'd move from just being that guy behind the mic cracking jokes to being a guy, while the event's going on, going to tables, are you having fun? So all those experiences at some point come together, and I'm sure it's the same with all of us.
No, definitely. No, definitely.
Experiences will color your outlook, and they'll make you a whole person, a fuller person. And I think the era of having one profession for 75 years of your life, where every single day you're doing one mundane task from morning till night until you die, those days are gone. Not just because of technology, but also because as a society, as human beings, as a civilization, even in Africa, we've realized that we're much more than just a doctor or a lawyer or, you know what I mean, or an artist or a musician. You're a whole plethora of things. And in one lifetime, you can actually live the full potential.
I feel every stage is a stepping stone that helps you to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? If you look at this, some of these guys, if you find Lamborghini was a tractor before it became a supercar.
That's amazing.
And very few people know that. If you look at,
what do you own? Don't you own like a supercar?
You own the tractor, okay, Chilu? You own the tractor, now relax.
I own a tractor.
You own the tractor, now relax.
Probably Elon Musk started with PayPal, actually.
Yeah.
And now he's got Tesla and he's doing this. So
absolutely.
I think we will all have the same answers to say, look, I started from this and it helped me to do this. I think every stage is a stepping stone, which works.
Okay, cool. All right, we usually end with rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire!
Just like 4 or 5 questions where we just basically say either a sentence or a word or something, and then you get to say what comes to your mind. First thing that pops to your mind. And there's no right or wrong. It can be anything. You don't have to explain yourself. Whatever comes. Okay. So I don't know, Chilu, are you trying to do it? Or
no, you go for it. You go. I might add 1 or 2.
Is it? Okay. Let me go with the first one. Fast car or a mansion? And I'm going to say why for this one. I know I didn't say that in the rules, but I make the rules, I break the rules.
There we go.
Fast car or a mansion?
Fast car.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
From the time I was a kid,
Need for speed.
Yeah, that thanks to God, my wife is there right now to give me that control. I'll be right at home in a Bugatti Chiron,
Yeah.
Pillow.
I love
TV
that.
in there, living up in there.
That speaks to passion. Like my passion comes first. I love that.
Yeah. That's as honest as I can get.
I love that honesty. It's beautiful. Education or gut instinct? I think I know the answer to this one.
Gut instinct.
Yeah, that was easier.
Sight or sound?
Wow, that's hard.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah. Sound.
I'd have thought you'd say sight.
Sound gives me picture.
Yeah. Okay. So did you want him to elaborate, or should I shoot one? No,
he just did.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna shoot directors. Tarantino or Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. More storytelling, more. Okay.
I'm gonna throw one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Salif Keita, Yusundua.
That's a hard one. That's too close.
Yeah, it is, right?
Salif.
Okay. I guarantee you probably choose Yusu tomorrow. It just depends on the day.
Yeah.
Would you like to say why Salif?
I don't know. It's a mystery,
There's a mysticism about it.
Yeah, it's a mystery. Yusundu, I can almost consume him, and I know him. I know what he's doing. Salif is weird,
Yeah, it's like he's come out of another dimension.
Yeah.
He's just joining us for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he'll go back to that dimension.
That's deep.
Thank you so much for coming through and joining us in our dimension. It was dope. It was dope having you around.
Absolutely.
I'm very happy to have finally got to meet you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I was supposed to have met you when you had dinner with
long
Chilu.
overdue,
And then I had dinner with him, and then he said, Vatice is coming. And I was like, I'm going to wait for him to come.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
And I ended up having dessert. I ended up having on top of dessert, I had an extra meal, and then I said, you know what? If I stick around here, I might need more than just a jog in the morning. So it was a pleasure having you.
Yeah,
here, God bless you and the fam.
Thanks a lot.
And your businesses and your passions, man. May you continue to be even more of a whole and complete human, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Bless.
All right.